Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Kristie.
And I'm Josh. We've got some more great Reddit stories for you today, so let's jump into the first one.
Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my childhood best friend's destination wedding after they uninvited my wife?
I mean, it seems weird to uninvite your friend's wife from your wedding. What did she do?
My best friend from childhood is getting married. He and his fiancée have been together for about 7 years and planned a destination wedding. They wanted a smaller, more intimate wedding and decided to combine the bachelor and bachelorette party into a week-long trip. About a year ago, I was told about the wedding and was asked to attend. I was specifically told that both my wife and I were invited. The only thing we would need to pay for was our airfare. Everything else would be covered. Over the last year, there were multiple conversations confirming that both my wife and I would be attending. Based on that, we requested and received PTO from work, bought plane tickets, and started preparing for the trip. We bought clothes and other things we would need for a week-long destination wedding. About a month and a half before the wedding, my friend told me there was no longer enough space for my wife. Apparently, she had been cut from the guest list and there was only room for me.
A month and a half seems awfully close to the wedding. Sounds like OP and his wife have done a lot of prep work for this. And they work in an industry where they have to request their time off pretty far in advance, it sounds like.
I mean, normally I feel like month and a half is a pretty far time to the wedding, but this is a destination wedding. There's a lot of prep work that goes into that for the guests.
Right, because they have to take a full week off from work, so it's not like like next week I'm going to take Friday off. It's, I'm going to be gone for at least a full week. I have to figure out a lot of things for the office. And I have to go and buy a whole new wardrobe for some reason. Or I guess not for some reason. It's a destination wedding. You want to look your best.
He also mentioned that numerous other guests were upset. Some people had to pay for their own accommodations elsewhere if they wanted to attend, after previously being told they would be covered. And some guests had their invitations revoked entirely because they were over capacity.
So they just invited too many people to this destination wedding, and somehow they're popular enough that too many people agreed to come to a destination wedding?
Well, they definitely invited way too many people. Did they just have poor planning and didn't realize how many people they were inviting, or did they expect a lot more of them to say no?
Personally, I assume that they expected more people to say no, because sometimes it's hard to get your relatives to come to a non-destination wedding.
Right? Destination adds a whole new level of inconvenience to going to a wedding.
And it sounds like your wife didn't even make the has to pay for her own accommodations list. She's just cut?
Yes.
That sucks.
I was honestly shocked. I told him that if my wife couldn't attend, then I wouldn't be attending either. I asked him what happened and why this situation occurred. I wanted an honest explanation. His response was basically that they didn't realize they had a capacity issue until invitations were sent out. I asked how that could happen, if they already knew the venue capacity beforehand. He refused to answer directly and kept saying that this wasn't about the guests because it's their wedding.
It's kind of about the guests. I know that your wedding is not about the guests. This issue is entirely about the guests.
I told him that while it's absolutely their wedding and their choice, they had set clear expectations a year in advance and repeatedly confirmed those expectations. Now, after people had spent money, used PTO, and made plans, they were changing things and expecting everyone to be okay with it. He and his fiancée have taken no responsibility for the situation and instead blamed the guests for overreacting. He also told me that I was the only one making a big deal about not being able to bring my wife.
Is that because you're the only one whose wife was uninvited?
Some people were just entirely uninvited as a couple. It sounds like both of them were uninvited.
I can't imagine only one of us making the cut to a wedding.
It's so weird, right?
Yeah, it really is.
To be clear, I never demanded that they re-invite her. I simply told him that if my wife wasn't welcome, I wouldn't be attending either. Am I the asshole for being angry about this and refusing to go to the wedding?
I don't think you're the asshole unless, like, during your conversations with your friend, you were far angrier than you came across in this post.
Yeah, he sounds pretty, level-headed about this. Just like, hey, this isn't right. And I am not pleased.
Yeah, there's, I am not pleased. And then there's, calling your friend up and screaming at them. Those are two different things.
Well, from the way he wrote the post, it sounds like there was no screaming, just a, hey, what happened? This isn't cool.
Right, which is why I'm saying not the asshole. I don't want to go to a wedding without my wife.
Especially a destination wedding. I'd have to, either travel by myself or we already got the tickets. You can come with me, but I got to ditch you and go to this wedding. And you got to figure out something to do by yourself for the day.
Yeah, you have to sit in the hotel and feel bad about yourself because you didn't make the cut for the cool party.
I just feel like this is super rude after you confirmed multiple times over the past year that, yes, this was going to happen. You were both invited to then uninvite one of them. They already spent money on their plane tickets. They've already taken time off work. You're extremely inconveniencing them and costing them money.
Yeah, and they're comboing in the bachelor and bachelorette party, so I bet OP will have zero time to see his wife if they actually, tag along anyways.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. There is no turning this into a couples trip now. It's just it's a bachelorette party and wedding the whole time. There's no point to the wife coming because she's going to be ditched the whole time.
Right, the couple's new plan must have OP bunking with one of the other groom's friends.
Yeah, probably because they're cutting way back on accommodations and some people are going to have to pay for their own accommodations now. I bet they are grouping up single guys and single ladies. Single guys in one room and single ladies in another room.
Because I assume that OP and his wife had their own room, and now he's got to be tossed into the single guys pile.
Top comment, I would not attend. I would go on a holiday with my wife, use the tickets, but I wouldn't be attending. Then they can give your seat to someone else. See, you are assisting them. NTA.
Yeah, did they even give OP and his wife the option to pay for their own accommodations and still come? Hey, sorry, we are over budget. Can you chip in towards your accommodations?
Well, it's not just the accommodations. They would have to pay for the wife's, dinner at the wedding, and they don't want to do that. And they just don't have room for her. They're at capacity. They can cram no more people into this room. It is a fire hazard.
I would personally take this as an insult towards my wife. I don't know how else I could possibly interpret this. Just because it's a straight uninvitation. It's not like hey, we screwed up our budget. We can't afford all the people that want to come. Can you chip in? It's not like that. It's a straight up, she can't come.
Yeah, there was no trying to find a way to make it work. They're just nope, it's not working. She can't come.
And I will not be discussing the reasons why.
Another comment, you have the time off, have the plane tickets, book accommodation, and have a fun holiday together. Don't bother with the wedding. And then they added, you could send a wedding card saying thank you for the holiday destination suggestion and that you are having a great time with your wife and hope the wedding goes okay. That seems a little petty, but I think they deserve petty at this point.
I mean, it depends on how much of the friendship you want to salvage at this point. But you are going to be in the same location as them. So instead of mailing them the card, you could just slip it under their hotel door.
So for over a year, they let you and other guests presumably buy tickets, outfits, gifts, and accommodation, and decided to disinvite them a month before the actual wedding. That is terrible. You can't treat people like that and not expect pushback. I also think your friend is lying about the other people not making this an issue. NTA.
I do wonder how many of the other people that were uninvited hadn't done as much prep work as OP and their wife. I feel like OP and their wife did a lot of prep work earlier than I would have done it. I get buying the plane ticket early. I get requesting the time off early. I would not have bought a single wardrobe item yet.
I mean, I think that you probably should have, but I wouldn't have because I'm just such a huge procrastinator.
That's it exactly.
The week before the wedding, I am scrambling trying to find an appropriate wardrobe for this trip and panicking.
Yeah, and I guess that's not a healthy way to approach a planned vacation, but I wonder how many other people are just like, oh, I was uninvited. Well, I haven't invested in this yet. Or maybe they bought the insurance on their plane tickets so they can get a refund.
If this happened to you, and you couldn't get a refund on your plane tickets or anything, would you try and get your friend to pay you for the plane ticket because this is their fault?
Honestly, at this point, I've already invested so heavily into this trip, I think I would try to pivot this into a couple's vacation for me and wife.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just thinking if you didn't use the tickets, but I guess why wouldn't you use them if you couldn't get a refund for them?
Right. I assume it's not such an exclusive destination that you can't find a hotel room somewhere around there for that time period. I don't know. It's a lot of money going down the drain otherwise.
Definitely NTA. It looks like your friends spent way more than they could afford, and now they're trying to cut costs wherever possible. That's not your problem. See if you and your wife can go somewhere else that you will both enjoy and skip the wedding entirely. And then someone replied, either that or they decided they wanted to invite other people instead. Because like OP said, how could they not know this before they sent out the invites? Were they overbooked like an airline?
Ooh, I didn't even think about the fact that they might want to invite a better friend. I was assuming they overbooked like an airline because it's a destination wedding. I need to invite Aunt Agnes. I sure hope Aunt Agnes doesn't come. I don't like Aunt Agnes. But I am required by my parents, I am required by my grandmother to invite Aunt Agnes.
And then, oh no, Aunt Agnes says she is coming. We were not planning on that and we don't have room for her.
I was really banking on the fact that Aunt Agnes and Cousin Ed couldn't come. Because I do think that they probably are legitimately overbooked. They probably like the venues like, hey, you can't fit this many people in. If the issue was just monetary, I would personally reach out to a few people and be like, hey, I'm sorry, we can't afford to pay for all of the accommodations. Can you pitch in part of your room? Try to spread the cost out a little. I know it's my fault, but I don't want to burn bridges here.
That's also not exactly cool when you have been assuring them that their accommodations would be paid for. But I do feel like that's better than just disinviting them.
Yeah, it's uncool, but it's less uncool.
But anyways, Reddit thinks NTA, your friend is rude, and just you and your wife go on a little vacation by yourself instead.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Am I the asshole for calling foot faults on my 12-year-old nephew during a family tennis match?
For non-tennis players like me, what is a foot fault?
You have played pickleball.
Yes, but not seriously. What is a foot fault?
It's when you put your foot over the line that you have to stand behind during serving.
Okay, I was assuming it was you put your foot out of bounds somewhere, but I didn't know where. Does it matter?
The only time that it really matters where your feet are is during the serve, because you can't stand too close to the net, obviously. You have to be behind the baseline.
Okay, I feel like this entirely depends on if you guys, seriously play tennis, or if this is just a little family fun game.
I, 26 male, take tennis pretty serious. I'm not a pro or anything, but I play a lot, and I hate when people just mess around and don't follow the rules. It just ruins the game.
Someone is very uptight about tennis.
Last weekend, my brother Dave, 34 male, and his kid Leo, 12 male, came over. Leo started taking tennis lessons 6 months ago. He made his middle school team and wouldn't shut up about it. He kept bragging and saying stuff like, I could probably beat you now, and bragging about his topspin.
After 6 months, when Uncle has been playing for years and years, it sounds like, I think you need to teach that little kid a lesson. Okay, I get that kids brag, so you should expect a certain amount of that. And this kid is probably just excited that he's into something that his cool uncle is into. So maybe try and be encouraging a little bit. But also, if he's being over the top with the bragging, I think it's okay to put him in his place a little bit. I mean, he's got to learn at some point that he's not the best.
I mean, you could teach him a lesson, but you could also teach him a lesson. Sounds like he's into tennis. You could teach him a bit about tennis. Dave said we should go to the local courts so Leo could show off. I said, fine, let's play a real best out of 3 sets match.
Oh, he's going to teach him a lesson.
He's going to teach him a 2-hour lesson. That's a lot of tennis.
That is a bit extreme. But apparently this family's very into tennis.
First game, Leo is serving. On his second serve, his shoe touched the white line before he hit the ball.
Scandalous.
I called it right away. Foot fault, double fault, my point. Leo looked confused and said he barely touched it.
Barely is still touching it.
It is. As somebody who used to play tennis, I have to say, maybe you could just tell the 12-year-old, hey, watch your foot. Because in a real competition, you can't be over the line. There's no second chance there.
Yeah, I do feel like a warning was in order. If he kept doing it, then call it on him. But be like, hey, point out and teach him a little bit. Hey, that's not actually allowed. But going straight to my point is a little bit mean.
I told him a fault is a fault, and in a real tournament, you lose the point. Dave laughed from the bench and said, come on, man, give him a break. It's just for fun.
No, it's not just for fun. You guys made this a very serious competition.
I told Dave letting him cheat doesn't help him learn anything. So I just played my normal game. I hit my serves full speed and did drop shots, making him run all over. I won the first set 6-0. By the second set, Leo was super red and panting and getting mad.
Okay. Okay, I keep waffling back and forth about this kid bringing it on himself with his bragging, and then you but you are way overdoing it. This kid is gonna hate tennis and never want to play tennis ever again.
I will remind you that OP is 26 and his nephew is 12.
Yeah, don't pick on someone your own size.
When I was at my, tennis prime, I could serve the ball over 95 miles an hour.
No, you can't do that to a 12-year-old that has been playing for 6 months.
I feel like if OP is serious about tennis, OP is at least hitting that ball 85 miles an hour at his nephew, and that's tough on a 12-year-old. I feel like there were times where, as a 12-year-old, that would just knock the racket out of your hands. At 4-0 in the second set, Leo hit a crazy forehand down the line. It was close, but from where I was standing, it was definitely out by a tiny bit. I called it out, 15-love. Leo dropped his racket and yelled that it was on the line, and I was lying. I walked to the net and said arguing with a caller is a code violation. I told him his sportsmanship sucked, and that in a real match, he would get a penalty for yelling like that.
I think both of your sportsmanship suck.
He would definitely get a penalty for dropping his racket. I think it's very normal in tennis for people to get heated and yell about a call like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Leo started crying hard. He threw his racket at the fence and just sat down crying. Dave ran on the court and got in my face saying I was a huge jerk. He said I ruined Leo's confidence and ruined the whole weekend just to boost my ego against a kid. They packed up and went to their hotel. We haven't talked since, but Dave texted me calling me a try-hard loser. I honestly don't think I did anything wrong. He wanted to be treated like a real player, so I did. I don't make the rules. I just play by them. Am I the asshole?
I'm going with, yeah, you're the asshole. You're just beating on a little 12-year-old kid. That's so mean.
You're not the asshole for calling foot faults. You're not the asshole for calling that shot out. You're the asshole for the way you did both things.
Yeah, there's a way to beat this kid to show him that, hey, you do still have a little bit to learn about tennis. And that is different than beating the kid until he's crying.
Yeah, there is a big age difference between OP and his nephew. You didn't need to go all out and teach a 12-year-old a lesson for bragging that they were really good at tennis and made their middle school tennis team. Everyone makes the middle school tennis team.
Yeah, but still, this was something the kid was excited about, and you just crapped all over it.
He's been at this for 6 months. Sounds like he really liked tennis up to this point.
I bet he doesn't anymore.
Hey, at least doesn't like playing tennis with Uncle. Top comment. Come on, man, you gotta know you're the asshole here. Not for calling foot faults, but for your whole attitude. He's 12. He's excited about learning something and getting good at it. Of course he's cocky about it. He's 12. And you were mean the entire game. You approached the whole thing like you were genuinely competing with a 12-year-old. His form was trash, and he was just getting lucky. So give him tips. Help him out, dude. He's 12. Of course his form is trash. He's not even been playing for a whole year. The same applies to most of your posts. But this... I walked to the net and said arguing with the caller is a code violation. That is just mean. He is 12. He thought he was good at something because he'd been improving. He wanted to show off how good he was to the best tennis player he knew. That's a compliment he was giving to you, by the way. And in return, you didn't go even remotely easy on him, rules lawyered him, destroyed his confidence, and then when he was a reasonable amount of upset for being 12, you talked down to him and condescended to him. It's really clear you're proud of your tennis skills. It's not clear why you felt the need to utilize all of these skills 100% when talking to a child. I'm not saying you should have gone easy on him or let him win. I'm saying you should have been kind to a kid who was excited to show you something. I just hope you haven't destroyed this kid's love of tennis.
Yeah, when you're taking on someone like half your age, you don't need to go all out to beat them. It just seems like overkill.
I do understand making him run all over the court. That is a fun level of mean to the kid.
No, don't make me run. That's why I hated tennis. I took one summer, I took tennis lessons with my best friend, and there was so much running, I hated it. But me and my friend just spent most of the time goofing off and not actually playing tennis.
He's 12. He has the energy to run all over that court. Teaches him that he needs to control that ball. But in between points, maybe walk up to the net and be like, hey, You need to control the ball so I'm not making you run all over the court. Make it a teaching moment.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely should not throw the game and let the kid win, but don't like go so hard that you're just completely overpowering the kid. Also, I feel like, maybe let them get 1 or 2 points, like build their confidence and their love of tennis, and you did the opposite.
Another comment. If a 12-year-old can get under your skin to this extent, it doesn't speak well to your maturity.
Yeah, I feel like the 12-year-old and OP were both on like the same maturity level, which is not good when you're 26.
Someone else comments, you weren't playing a tournament, you were playing a friendly game between nephew and uncle.
Oh, it was not friendly.
Although it seems you missed the friendly part. So congrats on winning a game with the rules you decided about against someone less than half your age. You're the asshole. Okay, and then OP does have a quick edit.
I wonder if it is going to alter our opinion of him at all.
Okay, I read all the comments, and I see why I am the asshole now. I called Dave and Leo and said sorry for ruining the weekend and making him cry. I should have just let him have fun. I just wanted to add that I am autistic, and sometimes my brain just gets stuck on following the exact rules, and I really struggle to read the room when people are just trying to chill. I didn't mean to be a jerk. I just really didn't get it in the moment. I'm gonna do better next time.
I don't know. You made the kid cry. I think at that point, if you can't read the room, I don't even know what to say.
It's good that OP was self-aware enough to call and apologize, but maybe also be self-aware enough to take your brother's advice on when you're going overboard. Like, if you can't read the room, your brother was over on the sideline saying, calm down. Take
it easy. This is just a friendly game with a 12-year-old.
There were a lot of signs at the time. But it's good that OP is remorseful and says they'll do better next time.
Yeah, I do like it when, OP is able to reflect and realize they were the asshole. I hope this guy really does do better next time.
Because this is a sport, so you should have been a little bit of a stickler on the rules because he is on the middle school tennis team. Once they're on the tennis team, it's no longer like this is a fun family match. No, get your foot off of that line. Just say it nicer next time, OP.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, it really helps us out, and it lets us know we should keep making fun content like this for you.
Am I wrong for refusing to stop wearing nail polish? My boyfriend said it makes him uncomfortable.
Why would nail polish make someone uncomfortable? What are you doing with the nail polish?
I've been into nail art for about 2 years now, and when I say into it, I mean properly into it. I watch tutorials, I have a whole collection. It's genuinely one of the things I do for myself that just makes me feel good, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
OP is properly into it, not like those filthy casuals.
My boyfriend Kai has known about this since basically the start. It came up early on, and he laughed and said it was different, but cool. And I took that as him being genuinely fine with it, because why would I assume otherwise? Things were good for a while, and then about a month ago, we went to his cousin's engagement party, and I had this really clean geometric design in black and white that I was honestly really proud of, and his cousin's fiancé made a comment that was clearly meant to be funny, but landed weird, and I saw Kai's face do something I hadn't seen before. He didn't say anything that night, but a few days later, he brought it up and said he'd been thinking about it and that he wasn't sure the nail thing was something he could be fully comfortable with long term, and asked if I'd consider just keeping it simple or stopping when we were at his family events.
If this is the only weird thing about OP, this sounds like just a small quirk that makes them slightly unique. So far.
I feel like a geometric design on your nails isn't even weird.
It's black and white. It's wedding appropriate, it sounds like.
Black and white geometric design? That's not weird at all. That is fairly tame as far as some of the nail art things I've seen.
Right. That's what I was thinking too, like a black and white geometric design. That sounds kind of tame. I don't know how you could make that super weird.
I told him I heard him and that I understood it was an adjustment, but that this was something I did for myself and not for anyone else, and I wasn't going to dial it back because someone at a party made a joke. He said I was being inflexible and that compromise is part of a relationship, and I said compromising on how I present myself wasn't the kind of compromise I was willing to make.
Bro, you do not get to compromise on your partner's body. That's not the part that you're compromising about in a relationship. Where we go to dinner, that's what you compromise about.
I think I shut the conversation down a little fast, and I didn't really give him space to fully explain where he was coming from, and that probably felt dismissive, even if my answer was always going to be the same. I could have heard him out more before responding, and that's fair, but the answer was still no, and I stand by it. Am I wrong?
I mean, you're not wrong. Maybe it would have been good to get a little more of his reasoning just so you understand what the problem is. But it sounds like you're not doing anything too crazy, so it's really not cool that he's trying to tell you what you can and can't do with your nails. Does OP have, like, a nice, clean, geometric pattern on, like, 10-inch nails?
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about, like, how long they are, because making them super long does make them a little bit crazier, right?
A little bit. Like, yeah, the pattern is a very modest geometric pattern. Like, no one could possibly complain about the pattern, but they're like daggers.
They're like Wolverine claws.
Starting to curl weirdly. Like, I have to assume that they're normal nail length. Just from the fact that she didn't point them out, but I don't know.
But even if they were crazy long and starting to curl, that's how she likes them, and they're her nails. If he wasn't okay with this, he should have realized that, like, from the beginning of the relationship going into it.
Right, like, you can just choose not to date someone because you look at him and you're like, I'm creeped out by your giant fingernails. Having said that, there's no indication that OP has weird fingernails, so maybe we shouldn't be locked in on this aspect.
I'm just saying, whatever's going on with her nails, they're her nails, and he's known this since the beginning, that this is what she does with her nails. He should have just chosen not to date her at all, rather than months later be like, you know, I'm not cool with it.
Yeah, change your body for my preferences. That's not cool.
Top comment: don't date people who try to steal your joy. Like, also, this is something she really enjoys doing, and he's like, stop.
Yeah, that's another good point. She's really into this. There's no reason she should give up her hobbies just to make him happy. How long have they been dating?
She never says how long, but a month ago they went to the cousin's engagement party together. So I assume they'd been together for a few months before that at least, right? Because you wouldn't take a new girlfriend to an engagement party for your cousin.
Probably not. I was just wondering if this was months or years.
Yeah, we don't find that out, so I don't know.
Okay. Either way, though, it's weird to be trying to change who your partner is to this extent.
Another comment: absolutely not. Some compromises bring you closer. Others slowly chip away at who you are. You chose yourself, and that's not selfish. And someone says, I like this distinction. Not every compromise is equal. Choosing a restaurant you don't love is compromise. Giving up a hobby or form of self-expression you've enjoyed for years feels like a different category.
And it's not even like a harmful hobby, I don't think. Like, she's not hurting anyone. It takes up a very small footprint in her house. There's far worse hobbies OP could have.
I mean, I think it can get a little expensive, but what hobby can't?
Yeah, that's just every hobby right there. They can all get expensive once you get really into them.
You're not wrong at all. Kai weaponized the concept of compromise, and twisting it to mean you stop doing something you love because I say so is wrong regardless. And the fact that he only cares for family events suggests he was fine with it until his family were jerks, which means he has a family problem, not a you problem. That's another good point with it. He was totally fine with it until his family made a comment about it.
Yeah, that is true. You can't let your family dictate how you treat your significant other. That's just going to end the relationship real fast.
Dating is a time to explore compatibility. If Kai wants to make your nails an incompatible bridge he will not cross, sounds like he loses out on a cool girl. And like, yeah, if this is something you're not willing to give up, and this is something Kai is not willing to put up with, it sounds like you're not compatible. Maybe it's time to end things.
I mean, that is true. Dating is a time to find out, like, how much you like each other. Sounds like Kai also has the opportunity to compromise and put up with your nails.
A lot of Reddit is saying, oh my gosh, break up with him. But I think before you break up with him, do sit down and have, like, a real discussion with him. Do listen to what he has to say, because you did cut him off pretty quickly and you admit that. Listen to what he has to say and his reasons behind it, and be like maybe discuss it with him and be like, dude, this is insane. This is not cool. Yeah. Try and get him on your side a little bit before you throw away the whole relationship.
Yeah, because family can very easily get under your skin and make you say dumb things sometimes. Maybe this was just a slip up on Kai's part, you know? maybe this is something that can be talked out if you really like this boy and you want to keep him. But I don't think that he's justified in trying to get you to quit your hobby.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to give up your form of self-expression for your significant other.
Am I the asshole for using my wedding veto on my fiance's sister after he used his on my close friend?
What is a wedding veto? Like, no, we're not inviting this person, I veto it? That seems weird thing to have for your wedding.
I, 27 female, am getting married in 2 months to the love of my life, 30 male. We have a large guest list and have been narrowing it down little by little. My fiancé has said that we should both agree on who gets invited and uninvited, and I agreed to it. Our one exception is the veto, where both of us get to veto a person on our wedding list. He suggested it, and I agreed. The veto means we can cross off a person the other wants to be there from the list, and provide our reason why. My fiancé has vetoed having one of my friends, and I'm disappointed. She was my roommate in college, and she has been with me through lots of changes in my life. I consider her close to me, and it hurts that he doesn't want her at the wedding.
I feel like this is a really toxic way to decide the guest list. Is that just me? This seems terrible. Like, I do agree you're going to need to make some compromises on the guest list, but, like, having an absolute veto over someone who is very important to your significant other seems like an asshole move.
It sounds to me like they might be compromising in the wrong direction here. If we had a wedding veto, I would assume that the veto means, no, this person is coming to the wedding whether you like it or not, just don't talk to them.
Yes, I do feel like that's the way the veto should go. You can veto uninviting someone, but you can't veto inviting someone.
We don't have a bridal party, just a best man and maid of honor, my fiance's brother and my sister. I don't like my future sister-in-law. We have very different opinions on several things. She lives a lifestyle I find distasteful, and I just don't enjoy being around her. My husband, however, wants his sister at the wedding. He worships the ground she walks on, and I don't know how he can be so blind about her. I have very few nice things to say about her, and he knows that. Because he felt entitled to use his veto on my friend, I thought it was only fair that I could use mine on his sister. When I told him this, he told me he loved me, but that was just crossing a line. I said then my friend had to come. We had an argument that ended with him saying that his sister was right about me before he left for work. Now I'm just sitting here wondering if I was wrong to fight him on it, because I love him and want to marry him. Am I the asshole?
I don't know. This veto thing seems really dumb to me. I do not like it. You both suck for agreeing to this veto power.
Yeah, and then using it on such close people in each other's lives.
No, yeah, this is supposed to be used on Aunt Agnes, who nobody actually wants there.
No one ever wants Aunt Agnes at the wedding. You can totally veto Aunt Agnes.
At the very least, I feel like you each should have gotten to pick a certain amount of people that absolutely had to be invited. And then after you were done with those people and move on to the rest of the party, then you get a veto.
But also, it's really weird that you have to specify that my sister and your best friend have to be invited to the wedding. Why does that even need to be discussed?
Yeah, those are both people who should be there. I can't believe you would use your veto on that. Also, like, I love you, and I would know that having your sister at our wedding is very important to you. I wouldn't want to deprive you of that.
Right, and the other way around, I know that this person is one of your close friends. You should have her at the wedding.
However, if you did veto my best friend at the wedding, I can see I might feel a little bit justified in vetoing your sister.
It's just a toxic system to have in place, isn't it?
It's terrible. I can't believe you came up with this and thought this was a good idea.
Yeah, it's just guaranteed to end in a fight.
Yeah, this is just so weird because I do feel like both of these people are close enough that, like, if you did have a bridal party, they would probably be in the bridal party, but you're not having them. But you can't just uninvite them. They're so close to, like, the bride and the groom.
Top comment. Yikes, absolutely wild to suggest he not invite his sister. What is his issue with your friend that he doesn't want her there? What is so wrong with his sister that you'd make such an insane suggestion? Or are you just going tit for tat because he vetoed your friend? Sounds like a fun start to the marriage. You're the asshole.
Yeah, I was saying everyone sucks here, but I guess we don't know. What is his reasoning for vetoing the friend? Did we ever find that out?
No, we never find that out, but I have to assume it's just as petty as I don't like his sister, right? Like, you can have good reasons for not liking his sister. Still petty to veto her from the wedding.
Yes, I agree with that.
And he could have good reasons not to like your friend. Still petty to veto her from the wedding. There's just something about the veto system that's just... I don't know if there's non-petty uses of it. I know I don't want your Aunt Agnes at the wedding. I feel like I could discuss with you because you probably also don't want Aunt Agnes at the wedding, but we have to invite her.
Yeah, I feel like the entire guest list should be discussed and compromised on. No one should have the power to veto anything. This should be mutually decided together, not one person saying absolutely not. And if y'all are having this big of a fight over the guest list, I don't know if you guys are ready to get married.
All right, somebody commented, this veto was obviously a terrible idea. What's your issue with the sister's lifestyle? OP replied, she's not child-friendly, overly involved in politics, and just has some very non-compatible values with mine. We're practically opposites. Somebody replied, so? And since your fiance worships the ground she walks on, have you considered he agrees with her and that you two aren't compatible? Does he know what you don't like about her? OP replied, yes, he knows. He thinks her views are out there and a bit extreme, but he also insists she's a good person. I just don't see it.
Okay, I get that politics can be very divisive, but they're still family. They're still important to your fiance. You can't uninvite them for that.
Sorry, I didn't read this whole comment thread before we started to record. It keeps going. Somebody replied, what's the problem with being child-free? OP replied, it's unnatural?
What?
Somebody replied to that, so it's unnatural to have fertility issues and be unable to even have your own kids? OP replied, the lack of desire is unnatural, not the inability.
Okay, OP seems rather closed-minded on this issue.
All right, and then a lot of OP's comments are very downvoted, so I'm having trouble finding all of them. Somebody asked, what doesn't fiance like about best friend?
Okay.
He doesn't like how she acts when she drinks.
Okay.
So I guess he's afraid that she'll get a little wild at the wedding. Still not a good reason to veto her.
No, I don't feel like that's a good reason. Just be like, hey, have a little talk with her beforehand and be like, hey, it's my wedding. Can we please limit the amount of drunk we get and try to have some decorum?
But regardless of their reasoning, I think everyone in the comments is very universal. Everyone kind of sucks here. No matter what your reasons are, it's weird to veto people that are so close to your partner.
Am I the asshole for not cutting my trees to accommodate a neighbor's view?
I mean, you don't sound like the asshole. If they want a better view, they should have bought a better house.
So I live in a lake community. I have a view of the lake from my backyard, so the house across the street from me has a view from her front porch. I should also mention that where I live is in the 100s nearly every day of the summer, and I don't have central air conditioning, so my place gets hot.
Okay, I'm just going to cut in early and say, as someone who grew up on a lake, this is the most common complaint for just everywhere. The person on the other side of the street is like, I can't see the lake because your big house is in the way. I can't see the lake because you got a big tree. Bitch, you don't live on the lake. You don't get to whine. You live across the street from the lake. You're essentially scum.
This is why I picked this story, because I was like, ooh, Josh grew up on a lake. I'm sure he has opinions about this.
I do, because the neighbors across the street from my parents' house absolutely used this complaint on them.
I guess because my trees are bigger now, they're obstructing her view of the lake. Not blocking it, just in the way. But I didn't find that out because she came and talked to me about it. That never once happened. Instead, I found that out when she, her daughter, and her grandkids started talking shit and making threats about my trees from her porch. To me, my teenage daughter, and my roommate.
Do these people even have lake access?
No, they're scum.
It's not their lake. Get your own lake.
She even had her grandson come over to me one day and ask, hey, can I chop all your trees down so my grandma can see the lake? I just laughed and said, no, you cannot chop all my trees down. But I'd be willing to trim the tops down so she can have some of her view back. To which he replied, nah, F that. You're effed up for doing that to a sweet little old lady. She is old, but she is not sweet.
It's a tree. Is it even OP that did this? Like, when they get tall enough to start blocking the view, The tree's probably like 40 years old at that point.
I'd say at least 20.
Yeah, like this was a long time coming. Is OP such a mastermind that they've been plotting their revenge that far in advance? They started plotting this revenge before she was an old lady.
She went as far as to call the county, claiming they were an eyesore. Called the electric company and the internet company, claiming they were a threat to their lines. Even called my next-door neighbor, who had the house as a vacation home, telling him some branches were over the fence line. All of which amounted to nothing. And she can take all that time talking to everyone else about my trees, but has yet to speak to me about them.
Yeah, that sounds right. This is just lake behavior.
On one hand, I do kind of feel like an asshole for not cutting them back because she's old and she did live here before I did. But on the other hand, why can't she just be an adult and talk to me instead of threatening me from her porch? And if having an unobstructed view of the lake was so important to her, why did she buy a home directly behind another home and an entire neighborhood and not just buy a lakefront home? She for sure had the money to buy one. And I tried compromising, but she's not interested in doing that either. She just wants all or nothing. So who is the asshole here? I feel like she is.
She's definitely being the asshole here. You shouldn't have to landscape your property so that the neighbor across the street is happier. Like, I agree with OP. If you want a good view of the lake from your front porch, buy the lakefront house. I'm sorry that it's more expensive. I'm going to take OP on her word and say that neighbor can afford it and was just cheaped out and bought the house across the street being like, it's just as good. It's never as good. You have that your street probably has a public access for all the wannabes on the other side. I'm going to sound so damn entitled. I'm going to put it out there that my parents bought their house on the lake when the real estate on the lake was a lot cheaper.
And now it's a very nice neighborhood. There's people coming in from Chicago to buy vacation homes and building giant houses on the lake.
Yeah. So my parents' house has become like the old house on the street because people keep retiring to my home city and being like, well, there's good lakes there. And it's just like, I guess it's gentrification. I don't know. But yeah, the person who's on the other side of the street is always trying to dictate to the people who are on the lakeside how they should handle their property. I assume there's some sort of road access. Like, most neighborhoods have here's an access for everybody on the other side of the street so that you can get to the lake. It's not as good as having just your own access. I don't even know. I feel like I just ranted for a little bit there. What was our last point?
Well, I don't remember anymore either, but I was going to bring up, didn't your parents add it onto the house after they bought it and added a second floor? Didn't the neighbors across the street get really mad about that?
Yeah, when they bought the property, the house that was there was just this really small, not very good. It needed to be knocked down.
Uh-huh.
So they built their house and they built a second floor, and the neighbors across the street were not happy about that second floor because it blocked their view of the lake. That's just anything you do as the lakefront person, you're going to make one of the neighbors mad. It's a very high temper area to live.
Because everybody wants to see the beautiful lake. And you're ruining it for other people who didn't buy the lakefront property.
Right. They can't be bothered to take the time to find a house where the view isn't fully dependent on your neighbor's property.
Top comment, NTA, I'd be tempted to plant another tree just to spite her. Someone replied, I feel more trees kind of energy too.
And then just complaining to everybody but OP about it. Absolutely old person lake behavior. Calling the county. How exhausted is that county office? They probably get calls every single day from some random person who's not on the lakeside being like, hey, this person is blocking my view. That is the most annoying call to probably get.
Someone on Reddit agrees with one of your points, though. Never buy property based on a view that isn't yours. She should have remembered that, NTA.
Yeah, that's just good advice. You can't control the view from your front porch if it's facing the neighbor's property. It's not fair to your neighbor. Shop for houses on a cheaper lake if that's your problem, is the money aspect, but you really want to be near a lake. I know I know that it's hard these days. Maybe not when she bought the house, because it sounds like she bought the house a while ago. Spend a little more on your mortgage. If you want the lake life, you have to pay for it. I'm sorry. I know I feel like I'm coming across as elitist here.
Because you're so posh and grew up on a lake.
Yeah, right? It definitely wasn't like Hickville when I lived there. And now it's turning into a posh lake because a bunch of like bankers from Chicago and Detroit are like, well, this is an out of the way place to retire, so let's turn it into like expensive community. Definitely didn't go duck hunting on that lake or anything. Like that is one thing that's funny about people retiring to the country, is that they then are very upset that country people live there.
How dare these country people who were here before me infringe on my posh life living style?
I have had a few people the people from Chicago that move out there and are only there for a few months out of the year.
Yeah, they're only there in the summer.
Right.
Because nobody wants to deal with a Michigan winter.
Yeah. I've had them come up and complain that people are firing guns on the lake, and they're a little worried about that. I'm like, they're duck hunting.
I've heard so many gunshots at your parents' house.
You can't control the hunters. They're allowed to do that.
And there is a vast difference between hearing gunshots in the country and hearing gunshots in Chicago or Detroit.
Oh, absolutely there are. In the country, you're just like, eh. Someone's target practicing, someone's hunting. In Chicago, Detroit, you gotta be like, oh, how close is that?
Another comment. You need to file a report of harassment to the local police. You need to start a track record of her shitty behavior, because there's a very good chance she may take matters into her own hands, whether by having her son or grandson attacking your trees or hiring a service to do it while pretending to be you. Get cameras as well. She may try and poison your trees or bore holes into them to damage them so that they have to be removed. Assume the worst from her.
Gosh, that person really does assume the worst from her. I would have just assumed that she's the type of person that just has a lot of complaints and isn't going to back them up.
No, you hear so many stories about people go on vacation, and while they're on vacation, their neighbor has a bunch of their trees cut down. And they're like, there is the tree law thing, so they're like, hey, how do I sue for tree law? Because you can sue your neighbors for cutting down your trees and get a few $1,000s for every tree they cut down. If it's like a really big mature tree, I think you can get up to like $30,000.
I have seen a lot of Reddit threads like that where they're like, they cut down a mature maple tree, $20,000. Depending on how much money she has, that's just the cost of cutting down your trees for her. Because she then has a wonderful view, and it only cost her like $50,000. Maybe this lady's rolling in it, and that's nothing to her.
But OP does say, I have actually just installed cameras because I was having the same thoughts. Someone else says, I'm the paranoid type. I'd go even further and have the trees checked out by a certified arborist so that I have it on paper that they're healthy. Cover every base. Protect the trees!
Yeah, I sure hope the neighbor isn't so motivated and has so much free time that she's going to go and attack your trees when you're not looking.
Now, I was kind of wondering, she's a really old lady. So I was like, is the reason she hasn't come and talked to you is because she has mobility issues and can't leave her porch?
Sounds like she's mobile enough to complain to everybody but you.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, maybe not, you know?
That's 100% how you find out that somebody doesn't like your trees or your house, though, is that they complained to another neighbor, and then that neighbor immediately runs to you and tells you. I just don't understand the logic of just burning bridges with your neighbor to this extent over something that is completely allowed that they're doing on their own property. Like, don't you want your neighbors to like you? No, you'd rather look at the lake, I guess.
You'd rather bully them into letting you look at the lake.
Right.
Someone kind of agrees with you. Tell her you were going to be the nice neighbor until her grandson acted like a fool. And OP replied, that's the ironic part. I had actually been surveying them myself and thinking about having someone come out to do some pruning that I couldn't reach myself. Until all this started.
Yeah, but I don't think the pruning was gonna be enough for their taste. They want those trees gone.
Yeah, because right now they're not completely obstructing the view. They're just blocking some of it. And that is not okay.
Yeah, they don't want, like, a slight view of the lake. They want a full view of the lake. After they get the trees down, then they just have to get your house bulldozed, and they have a great shot of the lake.
But Reddit says, not the asshole. It's insane for your neighbor to try and dictate what's on your property. And they're really glad that she put cameras up to try and protect her trees.
My ex-girlfriend has taken a new job 100 miles from home and is planning on commuting. Am I the asshole for not changing my work arrangements to suit her?
Whoa, 100-mile commute, in both directions every day is insane. I can't believe someone would agree to do that. But no, she's your ex. Her job is not your problem.
So basically, my ex-girlfriend and I separated 7 years ago. We have a daughter together, while I have 2 daughters from a previous relationship. We have both moved on with our lives. I'm due to marry in 18 months, and she got engaged last Christmas. And we have shared custody of our daughter 50-50. On the days I have my daughter, I have to collect and take her to school, and she would organize the other days, which means I have to leave work early on days and arrive late on days. Thankfully, my employer has been very understanding and has accommodated my situation as long as hours are made up, which would involve me being available on weekends for emergencies. Not an ideal situation, but it works. Anyways, the ex has taken up a job 100 miles away, and her plan is to commute daily. I have my opinions on that, but not my monkey, not my circus. She had arranged for her dad to collect daughter on her days, and that seemed like a noble idea and a great solution, but reality has set in, and he finds his days are restricted, either collecting daughter or leaving to school. And the novelty has passed, and he's pretty much told her that he won't be as available as he promised. Now this leaves her pretty much up shit creek. She has asked me to work from home 3 to 4 days a week, which would allow her to continue her role 100 miles away and ensure daughter is collected on time each day. This isn't an option for me, and in telling her that I can't accept these changes, she's accusing me of clinging to the past, being bitter about the breakup, and doing my best to sabotage and stifle her career. Am I the asshole?
Not the asshole. Dude, her job and her whole situation going on with there is her job to manage. If she can't manage to pick up and drop off her kid to school on her days, she needs to figure something else out. She can't just dump it on you. That's not part of the agreement.
Yeah, and it does kind of suck a grandpa to be like, actually, this is hard. I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's not cool of grandpa. I mean, it was really nice of him to offer in the first place. But yeah, it's not cool to back out of that after she's already accepted the job.
Right, because X is probably commuting at least 2 hours a day, one way.
Yes, I was like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours back in the evening. That is so much time. On top of your 8-hour shift, that's like 12 hours. Does she see the kid at all?
I don't know, but I have to assume that like the salary of the job or the benefits make it good enough to accept, that much of a commute. But I feel like a big part of her taking the job was probably the assumption that dad was going to back her up. So that's not cool. But this isn't your problem, OP. She can't expect you to put your job in jeopardy to fill in for her situation.
Yeah, and then being like, you're just holding on to the past and jealous of me and my new fiance and trying to break us up and cause problems for us. No, you've both moved on. You both have new fiancés. It has nothing to do with that. She's just trying to make you feel guilty.
Yeah, I have to assume that OP just doesn't want his own career, sabotaged and stifled by her situation.
And it's not even that, but it's like, even if it didn't affect his job that much, it's still an inconvenience to him. And why should he inconvenience himself for her? Even if they ended amicably, that's a huge thing to ask.
Yeah, because it is just the agreement of the childcare. And it really sucks for the kid.
Oh, yeah.
To have to be in the middle and be like, oh, I'm an inconvenience for both of them.
Yeah, that does really suck.
But this is something that parents need to figure out between themselves. Yeah, you do have to pick the kid up from school. And on her days, that is mom's job. It's not your job.
Maybe the custody agreement needs to be revisited at this point.
Yeah, because it does seem like something's not working here. I don't know. She might have to get a closer job if it's not working out for her.
Or maybe hire a nanny to pick up the kid and watch her until mom gets home.
Maybe grandpa would be more motivated to pick his granddaughter up if mom threw him some gas money and maybe a little bit extra on top.
But whatever the case is, it's not on OP to figure this out. It's on his ex.
Top comment, none of this is a you problem. It is moronic to drive 200 miles a day also. NTA.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that.
Is she driving the 200 miles?
I would assume so.
I mean, it could be a train situation.
I feel like a train would take even longer, though.
I guess it depends on the train. Somebody asks for a bit more info. Why can't you do it? Would your job not allow it? Leaning heavily towards NTA, but just curious what the reason is. OP replied, my job is office-based, and my firm has been flexible to allow me to work the drop-offs and collection as it is. I already have planned for the summer months how I'm going to navigate the childcare on my days. Working from home 4 days will not be allowed, and informal, subtle talks with my manager has confirmed this.
Okay, so he really can't do it. Even if he wanted to help his ex out, he can't. It's not viable with his job.
No, I feel like asking your ex to work from home is a big ask, and one that's probably not gonna fly. I know it is an office-based job. Still, that many days a week from home is a lot.
Yeah, so X essentially wants OP to find a different job where he can work from home so that she can keep her current job. And that's insane. That is an insane take to have.
Not the asshole. She made a choice that complicated everything for everyone, including herself and your child. I understand that she thought she had all the bases covered, but it wasn't your decision, and her consequences are now becoming everyone else's problem. If her fiancé is available and able, why is he not stepping up to help? He's about to become the child's stepfather. There are services that will handle after-school babysitting and transportation. If an appropriate one is affordable and you genuinely can't help, she needs to foot that bill and make it happen. It sounds like she hasn't faced the facts that you have less options available to you when you're a single mom. OP replied, yeah, when I told her I couldn't do 4 days a week, she suggested I get a childminder. Couldn't make it up.
Oh, he's the one who needs to get a childminder, not her. But it's her problem. She's the one causing this issue.
I have to assume that OP is not US-based because he keeps using words like childminder and leave her to school.
Yeah, his wording is a little odd, I noticed. So I was wondering if maybe English is not his first language.
I didn't even consider that it might not be because English isn't his first language. A few people in the comments are suspecting Ireland, actually.
Oh, okay. Maybe just a different dialect of English.
And I think Reddit is very much on the same page here. Her new job situation is not your problem, and she needs to figure out her days.
Am I the asshole for asking my boyfriend for my deposit back?
I mean, it sounds like it's your deposit, so that means it's yours.
Me, 36 female, and my boyfriend, 39 male, have been dating for a year and have finally decided to move in together. We're super excited. Last week Saturday was our moving day. I'm moving in with him and needed a moving van, which he was driving but I was paying for. It was going to cost £250 for the day, but he had to book it due to insurance, etc. So I sent him over the money. When he went to pick up the van, they said that they needed an extra £100 insurance money and that we will get it back after the van is dropped off and there are no damages. I said fine and sent over the extra money.
Sorry, did I miss something? Why isn't boyfriend just paying for this stuff and figuring it out later with you?
I don't know, maybe he doesn't have the money to front it. Because I feel like if we were moving in together, one or the other of us would just pay for stuff as it came up, and then later we would sort out who owed who how much money for everything that we had paid for.
That would be my assumption if you're moving in together. Like, £100 isn't that much money that you need to call your girlfriend and be like, hey, can you send me £100? Unless she's just going to be paying for everything.
The move went fine, and we were really happy and excited. When he dropped off the van, I asked about the £100, and he said they would send it in a few days. I said fine, didn't think any more of it. We spent the next few days unpacking, etc., just to enjoy each other's company and the whole experience. Thursday night, as we were going to bed, I said, oh, they still haven't given us back that deposit money? We'll have to call them in the morning, see what's happened. He froze. Oh, they put that in my bank Monday. I looked at him and said, why didn't you put that in my bank? He got really upset with me and started saying it would only go on shopping anyways, and why does it matter whose bank it goes in? I was really confused and upset. I said, but you didn't even tell me they had given you the money back, or said, let's just keep it for shopping, and you just kept it?
Why wouldn't you follow up that sentence with, I forgot about it, I'll send it to you? Like, oh, they put that in my bank account, slipped my mind to give it to you. That's a healthy response.
He then got really angry and shouted, fine, I'll put it in your bank, and he grabbed his phone and transferred the money. I'm left shocked and confused. Was I wrong to ask for this money back? Am I the asshole?
Is this guy broke? It sounds like he's broke.
It sounds like he's broke and trying to scam you out of £100.
He couldn't pay the deposit himself for some reason. And then when the money gets transferred back to him, he's just, I'm not going to mention that. I'll just keep it in my bank account.
It definitely feels like he was hoping you would forget about it and he would get to keep it.
Yeah, and OP wasn't even, like, being accusatory when she brought it up. It sounds like OP was like, hey, did that company keep our money? I want that £100 back from the company.
Yeah, and then it was after he said, oh, they gave that to me a few days ago. Are you picking on my cat?
He started it.
He can bite you.
Probably, but he's being annoying.
Yeah, and it was only after he was like, oh, they put that in my bank account like a few days ago. And she was like, why'd they put it in your bank account? That's weird. Why wouldn't it go in my bank account?
I mean, I assumed it was going to go into his bank account because they put everything in his name.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he transfer it to her? It is her money. She transferred it to him. He should transfer it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're in a relationship with this person. Why are you trying to get one over on them?
And then getting mad at her when she was like, put it in my bank account, please. That's just like weird.
Yeah, it's escalating in a weird way, isn't it?
Top comment, no, you are not wrong. This is a very concerning sign. Even if he is short on money, trying to keep your money and belittling you to justify taking it is not the way to handle it. This is not a good indicator of how he will treat you when under pressure. NTA and sorry.
Yeah, it does just paint the future of your relationship in a bad light, doesn't it?
Someone replied, in addition to keeping the money, he lied about not getting it back. Then, when he was outed by her planning to call the rental place, he got angry with her to deflect from his stealing. He's a lying, remorseless thief. If this is how he acts when you first move in, it is going to get a lot worse. He will use you financially and gaslight you into thinking you are wrong to object. Get out of there as soon as you can and lose this lying, mooching thief.
Yeah, I mean, you're moving in with this person. Why are you trying to gaslight them to this extent?
NTA, moron tried to steal from you and then make you sound crazy for expecting the money back. He's an idiot.
You know what? That might be a more positive explanation right there. Sorry, OP, you're dating an idiot sounds so much better for their future than sorry, OP, you're dating a con artist. Maybe he's just a lovable idiot.
I don't think he is, though, because he got really mad. That doesn't seem lovable.
Yeah, he did get pretty mad about it, didn't he? Sorry, OP, you're just dating a con artist.
Another comment. First red flag. His action and especially his reaction. Unfortunately, I believe there will be more when considering his reaction when you called him on it. Just be prepared. In the meantime, do not mix any financial accounts.
Yeah, that sucks that he's put OP in a situation where they have to start being defensive about money in a relationship. Can you even trust him to pay the rent? Do you have to pay your half of the rent directly to the office from now on just to make sure it gets there? It's just, this is going to escalate out so far. It's going to have so many ripples in your future together.
And then there is an update. Thank you all for commenting. Your comments have been really helpful. At least I know I'm not overreacting or going crazy. I'm going to keep an eye on things and see how it goes. As I said in one of my comments, he's never shouted at me before. Maybe this is just a strange one-off, but I will be having a conversation with him about finances. Also, one good thing that did come up in a lot of the comments, everything is in his name. The tenancy, the bills, everything. So if this is a case of his mask slipping, I can just walk away. And I will. Thanks again.
Well, I mean, it's good that OP isn't trapped in the situation if things do turn bad. It is entirely possible this is just some weird one-off and like he was just in a weird mood that day, you know? That does happen. Just, it's good that OP is aware that they need to be aware of things.
Someone else starts their comment with about 3 lines of the red flag emoji. Girl, you need that deposit back so you can rent the truck to move right back out. There are so many things wrong with this, I don't even know whether to start with the lying or the manipulation or the gaslighting or the over-the-top anger. NTA, and you need to run very fast and very far away. And then a whole bunch of more red flag emojis.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a red flag, OP. It does sound like you have acknowledged that it's a red flag, though, so you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I will I will say one red flag is maybe not worth ending the relationship over. Depends on how big of a red flag it is. But I feel like having a discussion with your boyfriend about finances will give you a lot more insight into how big of a red flag this is.
Am I the asshole for putting my foot down about a plant gifted to my partner not being planted in our backyard garden?
Was it bamboo? Because I can totally get behind not planting bamboo in any garden.
Except for the garden of your enemies.
Yeah, that stuff spreads like crazy and you are never getting rid of it.
My partner and I are in the process of doing a full renovation of our backyard. We have made a lot of compromises about the direction we are going to ensure we both get some of what we want. My part of the bargain is that the small garden space we do have will be dedicated to entirely native plants to help support the local ecosystem.
I mean, that's cool.
I am somebody who is very passionate about native gardening. In my area, we have a nitrogen pollution crisis and population declines of birds and pollinators in the region. I have completely planned out a garden we will be planting in the fall of native plants that will thrive in the soil we have, without any amendments or fertilizers, all of which support pollinators and birds throughout the year. Won't require any watering beyond rainfall once established in the ground, and will look beautiful. I compromised a lot on how big the gardens would be, among other things on the guarantee that we would maintain a fully native garden. My partner and I even had discussions about how gifted plants would not be an exception to this.
This person is really into landscaping and gardening because they're having to make lots of compromises and having many discussions and, this seems like a really big deal to them. Like me and you were like, let's put this in the garden. And you're like, yeah. And you're like, let's put this in the garden. I'm like, sure. We don't really care what it looks like back there.
I don't even know how to check the nitrogen levels of our soil. If it dies, it dies.
I don't know if this plant is native, but it sure is pretty.
Fast forward to my partner's birthday, his parents gifted him cash, but his mom is the type who wants to always include a small physical gift. And this time, she chose to gift him with an ornamental grass to plant in the garden we are building. Not only is the plant not one of the plants that's been selected for the garden, it's not native. It would require us to amend the soil we have to support it. It does nothing to support the local wildlife, and its sun requirements would stipulate rearranging the whole garden plan in order to accommodate it. It's a small plant that only cost a few bucks.
But apparently it is a very needy plant. You gotta do all this stuff to keep it alive.
That's why it's so cheap. No one wants to deal with that thing. I have previously had multiple conversations with mother-in-law about the gardens we are planning, why it's important to me to have a native garden, etc. Well, when she gifted the plant, I researched what we would need to do to keep this as a houseplant, what window it had to go in, and checked to make sure it was non-toxic to my cat. I set it up for success in our south-facing window, and even my cat loves it. Well, she has now protested this, stating that it's meant to be an outside plant, so it should go in the garden we are putting together. I explained how it doesn't fit the criteria for our garden we had discussed, so it wouldn't be going there, but we were happy to keep it as a houseplant where it could still thrive. My partner is on my side about this, as we did have multiple conversations and agreements about this, and he recognizes the compromises I've made to make sure he has all the concrete patio and lawn space he wants. So he wants to hold up his end of the deal. But it clearly has hurt his mom's feelings, as she was really hoping to have a plant she gifted him put into the garden, which makes me feel like an asshole.
I think it's weird that mom is upset that you're not putting the plant in the garden. I'd be like, I don't care where you keep it. Inside, outside, I gifted it to you. It is now yours to do with as you wish.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that OP has talked a lot about this garden to her mother-in-law.
But mother-in-law obviously didn't listen if she bought a non-native plant.
Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking mother-in-law is like, well, OP is so excited about this garden. I will include a little gift for the garden. Completely screwed it up.
Yeah, I can totally see being like, a plant would obviously be a good gift for OP. She won't shut up about her garden. But you missed the most important part about the garden, and that was the native plants only rule. And I'm sure OP talked about it. They had to have talked about it.
Yeah, I think just from the way that OP wrote up that post, I think we can both agree that OP has definitely talked about the fact that this is a native garden. Sorry, OP was just so thorough. It sounds like they are very passionate about gardening. Good for OP. I'm not trying to say like it's a bad thing. I'm just saying OP has definitely told mother-in-law that this is a native garden.
So mother-in-law had a little bit of a miss with the present. I think she should take it as a win that they're still keeping it inside and trying to keep it alive inside.
Because OP went out of her way to make this plant thrive.
Which is more than I would do. Throw it in a windowsill, and if it lives, it lives. If it doesn't, oh well. I guess I'm just not that into plants.
We definitely would have checked to make sure it was okay for the pets.
Yes.
Beyond that, though, do your best, plant. I'll put you near a window, and I'll try to remember to water you. Based off of how some of our other plants have done, I will not remember to water you, and I apologize in advance for that plant.
Okay. We do have some plants in our kitchen windowsill that have been there since we moved into this house 8 years ago.
Didn't you throw out like half of them last month?
Okay, I did throw out some of the ferns died, but all of the aloe and succulents are still doing amazing, okay?
Yeah, we have to resort to succulents. Also, we can only keep plants on that one specific windowsill, because anywhere else in the house, the cats will get at them and just destroy them.
Yeah, Freya loves destroying plants, but they all know not to go in the kitchen windowsill.
Top comment. You're way overthinking this. Plant the damn thing in the garden in whatever space it will fit. Do nothing to alter the soil. Don't worry about giving it the right light. In 3 months, oh no, it died, oh well. Now it's not a problem anymore.
That was my other thing. I was like, if it is so important to your mother-in-law and you want to stay on good terms with your mother-in-law, maybe just plant it outside and be like, oh well, it died because I didn't amend the soil. But what do you want to bet that plant would just thrive just to spite you?
Oh, I am convinced that plants have a large amount of spite inside of their biology. Our apple tree is hanging on entirely out of spite. That thing, every single year, like, I swear half of it dies, but the other half looks like it's thriving, and it's
gotten increasingly smaller every single year we've lived here because you have to cut half of it off because it's dead.
Yeah, but I keep looking at it and being like, I think it's making a comeback this year. It's not. It's constantly dying, but it still drops little apples all over the yard.
So not only is it spitefully hanging on, it's spitefully making a mess in our yard.
It is. The apples attract a lot of flies if I don't clean them up in time.
And they're not any good to eat. They fall off the tree way too early. They're not ripe at all, and they're very tiny. And will give you a bellyache. Ask me how I know.
That and the squirrels love stealing the apples before they're ripe. I think we have seen one ripe apple on that tree in 8 years.
Yes, and it was way too tall to reach, and I just stared at it longingly until a squirrel stole it.
Another comment. Put the pot with the plant in it outside on your patio or deck. Voila, it's an outside plant. Win-win.
Also a viable option.
OP replied to that, I wanted to do planters and pots on the patio, but it was an instant hell no from my partner due to the risk of staining and discoloring the patio.
Oh, also, I can see that happening, yeah.
This is sort of where the whole compromise of, you get this garden to do exactly what you want with it, you have full control comes from. Like, I've given up on all my other wants in the space for a damn native garden that's exactly what I want.
So husband gets a patio where he can grill and a nice little lawn, and she gets her garden exactly the way she wants it.
Yeah, and I can see that if you guys have just... It sounds like they have very conflicting ideas of what a backyard should be.
It does.
So they're just like, there's a line here.
This half is your half of the backyard. This half is my half of the backyard.
And if that makes their marriage work, then hell yes. It's just a backyard. Have your little sections for your little hobbies. And then you've got mother-in-law's plant, just kind of in the middle there, awkwardly.
Is there nowhere in, like, the front yard you could put it? Just plop it in somewhere and hope it dies.
But mother-in-law thinks it would look great in her new garden. Wait, sorry. Didn't she give this to her son?
Yeah, she did.
So it should go on his patio.
Yeah, son, this is your plant to deal with. It may not go in my garden. You figure out what to do with the plant that your mother gave you.
It would look great just above the grill. I'm sure he's very capable of killing a plant and being like, oops, it died. I'm sorry, I'm not very merciful to plants. I know this isn't the plant's fault. But I need to get rid of this thing.
And it's just a plant.
And this is why the plants are so spiteful towards us. And the ones we don't like all flourish in our yard.
Yeah. I have poison ivy on my belly button right now from the spiteful plants in our backyard.
That's more of our neighbor's fault because they never weed their yard and the poison ivy snuck in. I do a pretty good job of keeping that at bay.
But Josh, my belly button is so itchy, and how did it even get in there? I mean, okay, technically it's right below my belly button, but why? Why is poison ivy so itchy, and how did I get it there?
I don't know.
I wasn't even wearing a crop top or anything in the backyard recently.
I can't help you there. I don't even know where you found more poison ivy. I thought I got rid of it all. Another comment. Not the asshole. When you give someone a gift, you don't get to decide how it's used. It sounds like she has gifted you a headache.
Yeah, and I did originally say that. It's kind of rude of mother-in-law to be mad that you're not using the gift the way she wanted you to use it. It's yours now. You can do what you want with it, even if it is, accidentally killing it.
And it sounds just like because of how passionate OP is about gardening, it absolutely is a headache for her.
And she does not have the heart to kill this plant, so she looked up how to best take care of it in her home. So she's going to have to continue to deal with this stupid plant forever.
Yeah, I have no doubts that plant is going to thrive and flourish in the pot because OP understands how to keep it alive forever.
Hopefully the cat loves it so much it kills it, because our cats sure have killed a lot of plants in their time.
And then some commenters are thinking that mother-in-law's intentions might have been a little more malicious.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Not the asshole. She was attempting to assert herself in control there. If she respected what you were doing, she'd have asked for input to choose an appropriate plant. Someone else comments, she knew when she bought it that it wasn't going to suit your garden. She sounds really annoying. How the hell does she think she gets to have an opinion on the garden you are carefully planning and doing all the work on? It's totally nuts. NTA, don't budge on your position. It's your plant now. Do what you want with it. Some of the more suspicious Redditors think that maybe mother-in-law is trying to sabotage the garden.
Because she's tired of hearing about you talk about this garden. Because it sounds like this is something you talk about a lot from how passionate you are about it.
But overall, I think most of Reddit is saying you shouldn't have to compromise your garden with this plant just to please mother-in-law. That's going a little overboard.
All right, that's our last story for this episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time.